In today's video, I would give you a lecture on a word from the English dictionary which is called debunk. With a brief search on Google, you can get both the meaning and origins of this word, and according to that info, the term debunk originated in a 1923 novel Bunk by American journalist and popular historian William Woodward, who used it to mean to take the bunk out of things. Bunk is a word used as slang for trash, junk or lies. So simply, debunk means taking out lies out of things. The definition of the word, according to Google, is that to expose the falseness or hollowness of an idea or belief. And if you connect that term with power scaling, you should get what we are doing today. So today, we are debunking the misconceptions regarding the word debunk and some terms related to it in the power scaling debates that you see online. So, as I have already stated the definition of debunk, now, let me tell why the term is used in power scaling topics. So the term debunk is used in power scaling debates and topics to expose the fake or false scale of characters and to portray the real scale of characters. Usually, characters who are overranked or misunderstood get debunked by scalers, and the real scale of these characters are revealed or exposed. And in some cases, the characters who get debunked get rebunked. If an opposing scaler proves the debunk to be false, then the scale of that particular character would be reverted to what it was before the debunk. But it is comparatively rarer to see a rebunk than a debunk. But in any ways, these two terms are valid for usage in power scaling and can be used in debates and topics in specific situations and cases. Using term debunked is sometimes unnecessary as debunk basically shows the real scale of the characters, so there is no need to specially write it unless the character has been recently debunked. In that case, you can mention the term to a character to let the audience know that a character has been proven to be falsely upscaled, and hence from now on this would be the real scale of the character, and the opposite of this would be for characters who get rebunked. Except for rebunk and debunk, every other term you see related to bunking something is invalid. For example, terms like pre-debunk, post-debunk, undebunked, etc. terms are nonsensical. These terms basically are just for delusional comparisons or are just the same thing with different wording. Pre-debunk is used by those people who want their biased character to win, so they just use the scale which was proven wrong just to win in the specific debate or battle. In simple terms, they are just delusional. Post-debunk is just the same as debunked, and the use of this term exists due to the existence of pre-debunk. And as one is unnecessary, the other one, which came after it, is also unnecessary, and undebunked is the father of both of them, as it is not even being delusional, it is just straight up being diagnosed with stage 3 schizophrenia with heavy retardation. The people who use the term undebunked are those who type GTA 5 on the folder name of GTA 1, thinking they will update it to GTA 5 by doing so. As I said earlier, retardation is a severe problem and should be treated in the early stages before it gets too serious to handle. So now that I have mentioned all of them, I would give examples for each of these terms with some fictional characters to prove my points. First, let's go with debunked characters, and before we start talking about debunked characters, I cannot help but mention the infamous geometric design, Mr. Anti-Principle. From a technical standpoint of view, the anti-principle was not debunked. The author just themselves said it was nothing more than a social experiment, and this social experiment for sure had a lot of people fooled, including my stupid ass. But when I look back at things, I can not understand why I believed in such a thing at the first place, as it is literally so oblivious that the entire thing is filled with fallacies. And to top that, the character had no verse, no cosmology, no feats, no nothing, yet it fooled thousands of people. Maybe the high-level terms used by Yelk in his paragraph regarding anti-principle baffled people into believing it, but anyway, Anti-P got dropped from high tier 0 to straight tier 12 below 0-dimensional. This pretty much displays how a debunk works, even though the entire thing was not a debunk. When a character's rank, tier or scale drops from the original rank to a lower rank or scale, then that character can be said to be debunked, as their actual scale has been exposed. One more example for debunked character is Orin the Absolute. Auron got debunked from highest ranges of tier 0 to high outerversal to baseline tier 0. It could get even lower than that based on different scales. So before Auron was debunked, he was on the top spots due to his statements regarding absolute infinity, and this created an unreachable status for Auron. But the thing is, that Auron at max is just few layers into boundless. If we consider Cantor's absolute infinity, which I highly doubt is what the author of the story is talking about, there are many sets of infinities present in the set theory, and these infinities can be used for scaling a character from outerversal to peak of tiring system or peak of mathematical scaling. His definition states that no level of infinity can reach him, let them be Alephes or large cardinals. Large cardinals is an extremely broad term, with no specification. All you can scale these statements is from outer to at max baseline boundless. And there are statements like he is above V equals ultimate L, extended modal realism, and other high-tier scaling terms, which proves exactly what the author's objective is. The character is purely made for the purpose of power scaling, as these terms are just tossed around to scale Auron high, basically naming terms with no context, and just adding them to the verse purely for the purpose of scaling. And don't bring up the excuse that author said he didn't make the character to be powerful. With just a short glance over the verse you can get the idea of the intent behind the verse. No author would deliberately use terms like V equals ultimate L and extended modal realism without the aim of trying to make a character strong in terms of scaling purposes. The terms like omnipotent, omniscient, etc. terms would have been more than enough if the author wanted to write a godly character. Terms like I mentioned before are only seen in power scaling related debates and verses. So yeah, Auron can be said to be debunked from peak tier 0 to high outerversal to baseline boundless. So even some of the Marvel and DC mid-tier characters would mop the floor with Auron easily. These types of characters are said to be debunked characters. And now let's see rebunked characters. Well, I don't know any character who has been recently rebunked to a higher status, but I can give you an imaginary example. Let's take Featherine for an example, because why not? So let's say that Featherine were to be debunked to solar system level, and some random scaler were to disapprove that. Debunk, and also provide scans and scale of Featherine with feats and statements of her scaling above high hyper to outerversal. So in this case, the debunk gets debunked, and the character gets upscaled from solar system level to high 1B to 1A. Hence rebunk is literally the opposite of debunk. And I will now get to why the other terms are invalid as well. Let's start with pre-debunk. Pre-debunk is used by those whose favorite character got debunked so hard that now they are miles weaker than what they were considered to be at their previous status, basically being delusional for fictional character or simply being biased. Pre-debunked has been used for characters like Anti-Principle, Auron, Zenith, and many other characters, anime characters like Shinra, and some of Goku's fan fiction forms. Post-debunk literally means the same as debunked. Unless you are not comparing pre-debunk status of a character in relation to its post-debunk status, there is no need to use this term. So characters which I already mentioned in the debunked part can also be used for this term. And now, we have undebunked. Undebunked either could be just rebunk's fancy term or peak level retardation. Either of those are unnecessary. Usually the undebunked seen in the debates are the second type. The people who don't know how to debunk, or know what is a debunk properly, and want to take the delusional scale of the character instead of the actual scale, use this term. And in this, same characters used before come like Anti-Principle, and Auron, and others. So this video's main purpose is to let people know that a debunk is not something you can just get rid of by adding prefix like pre and un. It basically displays the real scale of a character. So unless that particular character gets rebunked or upscaled, you have to accept the fact that that particular character is comparatively weaker than what you were taught to believe. But there are some characters who are above even the concepts of debunk and rebunk, and you can see that drippy, distinguished gentleman's image in the background. The fact is, he is still in his base form, yet he can step on your favorite verses with ease. This is also one of the gentlemen, along with the previous one. who can foderize your favorite verse just by giving a speech and his introduction.